morning, Uganda. You're still with us, Roina Kajumba and Felix Nkunda, and it is our GMU agenda. What we're focusing on is the events that have been happening in Arua, but I must say it's not the only time that we're having elections of this nature. Now, to explain to us and talk to us about what has been going on is police spokesperson Emilian Kyima, who is with us in studios. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. How is your morning?
All is well. Good morning, Uganda.
Indeed. Thank you so much. We have a number of questions that we want you to help us figure out and clarify, me and my colleague over there, and we shall be taking them on one by one. But real quick, let us look at the fact that candidates in Arua municipality by-elections complained that the electorates voted under duress due to heavy deployment of police. They see people in uniform, people in the army, things of that nature.
Actually, the days after the violent incidents of 14th and 15th yesterday, very, very peaceful. One of the most peaceful elections we had. It was only spoiled by the activities, by the criminal acts of 13th, but the heavy deployment was an assurance to the voters in Arua municipality and to the other people who are going about their businesses and who are on the ground still. I did not hear anyone complaining. The turn-up was good. Electoral Commission will tell us the percentage of the turn-up given the number of those that are registered. They came much earlier than in many other places. Counting started early, and surprisingly, we all knew the official results much earlier than the previous that we had had. And largely, it's something to feel proud about, jointly having worked together. Because on 14th evening, we had a meeting, security, electoral commission, all candidates and their agents to map out the strategy, the joint agreed positions, defining roles and responsibilities, and that was done. Fortunately, it was followed. So we go back and say, but what happens then? What is it that goes into our heads? And we run literally mad. Yet the electorate know what they are going to do. So for us who are not politicians, we look and shudder. We do not know what goes into the minds of many of these that drive each of us crazy.
Maybe, thank you there, Apandi. But of course, I know when you talk about elections, as I know you know clearly well because you've handled a number of these, that there's what you call a pre, there's the actual event and the post, and they all contribute to the result that we shall have out of the election.
Correct.
And I would be bent to by far not believe the statement that it all went well, because yesterday we saw the family.
15th.
Oh yeah. For the actual event,
the actual voting only
went well. Of course, definitely, there was no.
Yeah.
But of course, as we said, we need also to look at what preceded the election.
True.
And the events there, one would say they were quite ugly, for lack of a better word. They're quite unsightly, where we saw a Ugandan die. I wouldn't want to attach them as a driver also, but a Ugandan. And we would want to know, the Ugandans or our viewers of UBC would want to know what actually transpired that led to a Ugandan being killed. Up till today, we do not know who even did this. But as a matter of fact is that he was shot dead. Whether the bullet stray be or aimed, the person is dead.
Yes, it's important. Now, when I said it went well, the actual voting only, because, as you said, an election process begins on the day you announce that the process begins. And we need to give it a background. On the 8th day of June, 2018, the Honorable Colonel Ibrahim Abiriga was assassinated at Kawanda in his home, brutally assassinated. And that caused a lot of anger. Many questions are being asked. Everybody wants justice, and we work tirelessly hard to make sure that we deliver justice, that those who did it will be apprehended and will be punished in accordance with the law.
Sure.
Now, Electoral Commission had to fill that gap. They announced dates, and from 23rd of July, that is when campaigns began. That's when the electioneering process began. And it all went well until the 13th day. And you know, I want Ugandans not to focus on only an incident, but events, a series of events, like you said.
Process.
That's when you fully appreciate what actually happened and what we can learn from it, and then put stops here and there, or ask each of those involved to account for the activities. Now, on the 13th was the final day of campaigns, like the final briefing when we were students. That's very tense. I am not a politician, but I keep closer to them, and I know how tense it can be. You've walked all this journey. Actually, they did something. In Arua, they did something that in other places they don't do. On Sunday was 10th, I think.
Yes, it was.
They had a joint debate. Very unique thing. And they were all happy, but of course, each of them were conversing for these votes. On the final day of campaigns, around 6:30, when H.E. the president, head of state, finished campaigning for the party candidate, Teperu Nusra, from Boma grounds, the motorcade ran, and then along a place called Prison Cell, it met with a group with the supporters of Mr. Kassiano Wadri, the elect MP now. And you know, in that group were all these supporters in what do I call them? The heavyweights. The heavyweights that were looking for votes for him. Yeah. And now what transpired is the problem. The stoning, the attacks, the violent attacks of the presidential motorcade, which translates into an attack on the person of the president. Now, for all the years I have lived, I have not seen that happen here. How have we reached here? I am a student of history, and I have not got time to, I want to look at what happens when you attack the president. That direct confrontation. I want to check, and I love writing. I should write something about that. Let me tell you, our security forces need to be understood, need to be applauded for being so civil to the point of even risking the life of the principal. Because if they had not done that, I don't know what would happen. I don't want to imagine what could happen. Your duty is to protect. Now you see somebody attacking, but this is the president. That night, I issued a statement, and I want to be as honest as I have always been. For lack of the proper word, I said hooligans attacked the motorcade of the president. I got all the abuses.
Backlash.
Now the president comes out in his tweet. You know what he called them? Fans of, he called them fans. Now I said, this president here. He probably, I should have been the one to call them fans, and because of the anger, probably he would call them this. But that's what happened. Very, very unfortunate incident. Now we looked back. That's one incident, and has a relationship with the other. Okay. Around 4, a grader again obstructed the motorcade of the president when he was coming to Boma grounds for the campaign. We sort of thought, the officers on the ground sort of thought, that this is a reckless driver who innocently did this. When this happened, the minds now work. If I punch you once, it could be an accident. Twice, it ceases to be. So we looked for the tractor, for the grader. Its number plates are there, and we have it. The driver took off. And what did the grader have? It was wrapped in the red ribbons. Again, which ordinarily shouldn't be a problem, because you would have the right to support the candidate of your choice. And that's the beauty of politics, that we disagree and agree, but there are parameters. Now, that now informs our mind that, look, there is a problem that we have to address. So, what happens? You contain the situation, and political actors have the capacity to wow their supporters and rally them in a direction that most of us probably may not do, because we are not politicians. They have the magic. And you know, when leaders do this, followers do that, follow them. So we had to contain the situation using available methods of work. Unfortunately, after it all cooled down, a body was found in a car, in that Tundra vehicle, of a Ugandan called Yasin, unfortunately dead. That's a very unfortunate incident. Now, when
it was caused by a bullet, which is
yes, but I'm yet to look at the post-mortem report for me to even know.
Ammunition that was used.
No, when I look at, the post-mortem report cannot tell us which part. It only tell us one bullet or two or three, and the cause of death probably is this, and it hit here. Then we go back to, okay, what is this?
The scientific,
the projectile, what is it? So the ballistic experts will pick it up from there, and want Ugandans to keep cool. Many people are asking, what is the report? Who did this? It cannot be as easy as this. It takes time, because there are many players, and it's not as simple as just touching and saying, oh, this is the bullet, it came from somebody's gun. It takes time.
That is very
and
true.
expertise, yes.
We appreciate. But you see, there are a couple of issues that surround this event in Arua. We would respect and also seek perhaps solace in what happened to the attack of the sovereign of Uganda. But then, don't you think the blame should not be thrown to the crowds, perhaps the security detail of the president, with the expertise that we expect them to have appreciated with dealing with guarding the president? And we understand there's the ideas of advanced teams and all these things. Don't you think it is quite myopic for us to think that these goons, the hooligans as you termed them, and later on His Excellency termed them as the fans of a particular person, yes, outsmarted the security? Because then it brings, and as a matter of fact, most of the Ugandans now don't feel that their president may be safe, because there is an error in security, either by police institute or the SFC for that matter.
No.
Because we wouldn't want to throw this back to the crowds, honestly. They don't have that much power than the security.
You know the beauty of politics is you deal with people. And the security officers who protect principles, like the president, have their heads, burning all the time, because you've got to balance this. Do I protect my principle against the people? Yet, actually, the reality of what he's doing lies in these people, in the crowds. So how do we balance that? That becomes really a hard job to do. And the President Museveni, is a man of the people. He's one person who would mingle with everyone. And we expect that Ugandans, that's many times what we think. Ugandans have grown. You can disagree with me, but it's not your right to attack me. A simple, probably policeman. But then when it extends to the head of state, it becomes bad. It means many things. Number one, it's not spontaneous, because it has a background that we saw at 6:30. Two, where do you get the guts when you know the repercussions are going to be very bad, where do you get the guts? Do we blame it on probably substances that we have taken? I don't know. Is it Dutch courage? What is it? Is it madness? I don't know. That's why we think that there is a criminal element in all this.
Okay.
And the blaming doesn't help. I'm a student of psychology, and in psychology they tell us, don't waste your time blaming. Don't blame people. Apportion responsibility. Who did what? Who didn't do what? And in criminology, again, it's not about opinions. Where are the facts of your acts or your omissions? Then we go into responsibilities. And once we find one culpable, of course what happened after arrests. Many
Did the
people.
police arrest the members of parliament?
We arrested quite a number of people. In total, 34. Unfortunately, including 2 journalists who we think, again, we explain, many journalists think that sometimes we target them. No, thank you, we don't target you. We policemen get arrested every other day, but we don't stop working. We don't even go on the top of a mountain to say this. You see, it's one thing that is not enjoyable to be arrested. But the officers who are handling situations like those, you may not have all the time to decipher and listen to every story. Sometimes you have to take action, and then later you do the screening. We have all watched football. I really respect referees. Football today, they will tell you, when we were watching a World Cup last season, I saw a referee running to go to the screen and watch again, so that he takes a decision.
And cancel his own decision.
And he did that. Now, many times you have to decide once, and sometimes people would say, no. When we arrest, it's not final. We screen and we let people go. And the journalists who are let go, they told their story. It's not sweet, first of all, to be arrested. And sometimes the modus operandi depends on the circumstances that prevail, even when they are well laid down procedures. We are human. You are human. In driving, for example, many people make mistakes. And when traffic officers, stop them, they are the only ones who have powers to say, I can caution you. And they caution you and you go, why? Because of that human error. So we want Ugandans to understand, especially the media fraternity. Somebody abused us on social media. But I have grown to let go. If it was not that, we would take it also personal, and it doesn't help. So the people who were arrested were screened, files are compiled. We believe that those whose files are complete and sanctioned, we'll take them to court, because that's the only place we can take them. And then the real fight, the real battle, the real legal battle will begin from there.
Okay.
Yes.
Arua Municipality Mayor, that is Isakato, was in a situation, I must say, which was indeed terrible. And probably you have enough to say about that.
Yes.
But when do we see police come in and say, now this is the time for us to use force?
The Constitution guides us on use of force, and it gives us parameters, around 7 of them. First of all, to go back to what you said, it's the only incident that we registered of Kato, they don't call him Mr. of Kato being attacked under the guise that he probably had pre-ticked votes.
Yeah.
Again, that shows our weaknesses as human beings to solve problems mechanically. The best thing you do when you realize this, talk to those who are concerned, EC, Uganda Police, and then follow it, so that we can now get to know. We apprehend the vehicle, we check every detail there, because our duty is to make sure that it's a healthy environment. Now that was unfortunate. Fortunately, it was handled well and ended. We shall find those who did it and we shall prosecute them. They can never be just sweeping it under the carpet. That cannot happen. Now, in the incidents where we are going to use force, reasonable force, and many Ugandans say, but what is reasonable? You have the discretion guided by the law. The law guides us. The Constitution, forget the article, I think should be 23, 28. I didn't come with my Constitution, but it's there. What are the parameters? Number one, proportionality. Is it proportional, the force I'm going to use? Is it proportional to the force I'm responding to? Legality, what I'm doing, is it legal? Non-discrimination, the principle of non-discrimination. I should not focus on women alone, all men, and then tell the other gender to take this side. No. It should be, if I must use it, it must not be discriminatory in any way.
Maybe Afani, just on the issue of discrimination.
Is it necessary? And the others, but
because
those
in a couple of issues that have flown in the sentiments of the Ugandans or perhaps our viewers is that when you talk about discrimination, it may arouse a couple of questions, because maybe never in history have we seen the police use such power or force against perhaps the NRM government, or let's say the NRM, but we have had a lot of inciting.
I have examples of car.
Oh, so but as you said, force, reasonable force, advancement towards. We have seen a lot of fire use of opening of fire on say opposition rallies, particular personalities, but you have not seen the same on particular people in a particular party. When you look at, I think it is, you must know this more, I think section 28 of the Police Act that talks about when you open fire in times of those times that are much grievous, because there are very many alternatives. You must know this than me, Fandi, like baton charge and all these advancements. Was it what we saw in Arua? A couple of people, Ugandans, me inclusive, meant to believe that maybe it was not called for to open fire.
What did you see in Arua?
It was not called for, and perhaps we can help our viewers understand that the situation called for that, because there are very many that believe like me.
No. I think no.
It called for.
What did you see in Arua that shocked you?
I'm yet to hear.
No, let me tell you. In Arua, the incident that shocks all of us is the death of Yasin,
my point
having erupted from the attack to the head of state. Now, I mean, you guys go and check. Internet is here. Just flip through. In countries where citizens, where supporters, where, people attack the head of state. Let's tell the story. What happens? The story can be ugly. I really applaud security forces for restraining themselves. Otherwise, we would see ugly situations there. So you did not see anything. We only saw one life lost, which is very bad, because there is going to be a widow and there's going to be orphans. We feel very bad. Now, it's the reason we must put all our effort to finding out who is responsible for this. But for you to say that we only target opposition, no. I can just remind you of an incident in Chadondo involving Bobie Wine. When Bobie Wine was
standing,
was canvassing for votes for Chadondo East, right?
Sure.
I was in Kampala Metropolitan, directly into it.
Yeah.
On the final rally,
which was meant to be in Gayaza.
Yes, and it was.
Because His Excellency was also to be in a similar locality.
The NRM candidate had to be, I think, in Gayaza, yes. And somebody, I think Bobie Wine had to be Wampewo, exactly. Wampewo, the playground. Now, part of the NRM people came and erected their tent, their podium, and the party colors at Wampewo grounds. The other party said, look, This is our venue according to our program. We told them off. They said we can't move. We apprehended them. Go and check your archives. The senior leaders were apprehended, put in sets at Kasangati. Didn't we do it? Look here, it's service for all. But we try to insulate ourselves from the political actors, because politicians don't act like us. For us, we look at Ugandans as Ugandans. When we begin to look at their colors, we lose it. And when we discuss color issues, my friend, one person told me he chucked his girlfriend because the girlfriend told him that he was unwise like his mother. So when you attack somebody's mother, somebody's religion, somebody's tribe, somebody's political party, my friend, be ready for a war. So for us, we don't want to go into that direction.
Now,
we want to be the servants
of
the people.
Necessity. Real quickly there, so we can understand. Most Ugandans will say, these guys use a lot of force, this and this. You are addressed on the issue of necessity real quick because of time.
Necessity, proportionality, legality, the principle of non-discrimination. There are other two, but those are very, very important. Now, I must have a head that thinks very fast to decipher, to make choices very fast. And for us, when we are in the field, let me tell you, you don't have the comfort to do consultation. You have to take action. Sometimes you explain these actions after you have taken them. When you don't take them, you stand a huge risk of losing forces on the ground, of making tactical mistakes, which we don't want, and operational mistakes. So what we do, every activity, we sit back and critique each other. And that helps us to grow better.
It just falls right into Marina saying that it's better to seek apology than permission. but of course, lastly for me, Afande,
yes.
Most importantly, the country would want to know, did you arrest the members of parliament, the likes of the Honorable Bobie Wine, Honorable Gerard, Honorable Zake, and now Honorable Kassiano Wadri, and a couple of other members of parliament? If yes, where are they? And lastly, if they are going to be charged, what has been preferred against them specifically?
Yes, we arrested them and others, and investigations now kicked off immediately. Charges preferred. And when we prefer these charges, of course, we communicate to DPP. That's the process. We take case files to DPP. DPP peruses them, agrees or disagrees, or adjusts, advises.
This is on your investigation.
Yes, on the strength of the investigation, to take a position. We hope that when DPP peruses these files, he will guide professionally and shall follow that. It's not very, very important, in my view, to discuss the nitty-gritty of this, because that's now another battle elsewhere. And the battle in the court is not a battle of opinions, it's a battle of facts. These are the facts that we have, and of course the defense, and that's the best, the beauty of it, that even when we arrest you, even when we have sinned, you remain a suspect until proven guilty, because that's the principle. Again, legal things are good in my view. On Monday, I had an opportunity to talk to students of Mengo Senior School. One young girl asked me, "Sir, sometimes we hear you investigating and we don't understand this investigation. People have seen somebody who committed a crime. Even the victim did not die and can tell the story. What are you investigating?" The presumption of innocence principle prevails until we go to court and our evidence is adduced and the judges agree with us, or judicial officers agree with us, and then deliver judgment. That
will bring me to a question. Why court-martial?
For particular personalities.
Because we're seeing one of them,
exactly.
there.
And also, in addition to what Rowena is saying, it has been said that a couple of them were flown and they're in terrible condition, and some of them were taken to Bombo Barracks. That is why in my question, when I asked to find fact, was if police arrested, we would anticipate that it is in charge, and police is not in operations in Bombo or on SFC. So we would want to hear it from the loudest mouth of the police, perhaps.
Let me tell you, we arrested them, but we work hand in hand with these agencies, security agencies, to deliver a service to Ugandans. That is not even out of place. It's constitutional. When you check Article 212 of the Constitution,
Definitely.
it guides us.
Sister companies. Yes.
Agencies. And you know what? What we want to deliver, the deliverables are simple: security and safety of the people. The nitty-gritty of what we do and where does this go, that's the detail which we will know.
Okay.
And of course, every Ugandan sometimes, if somebody arrested me, God forbid, I don't want to be arrested. I don't enjoy it. But I enjoy arresting those who commit crimes because that's my role. So when I get him, let me tell people will ask, where is he? How about his rights? It is he.
Your wife will be concerned. Your children will be concerned. Just as we saw Bobie Wine and your wife.
And you who host me here, you
will be concerned because I want to host you tomorrow.
Which is right. Which is a right. It's a right. But you know, look, we had an election to deliver in terms of protection. And the hearts and minds of people in Arua are probably apprehensive. They want to have a free and a fair election. Definitely. With the police giving them assistance. So we let the investigators do their work, take care of all that. We focus on delivering this free and fair election. God was on our side and it was done. Now, we are going to focus on prosecution now. We have evidence against each of them. What is the evidence? What is that we are going to adduce? And it's going to be a battle. And the Ugandans must know. Let's not go by crowds. Let's not go by crowds. Let's still keep our minds sober. And as leaders, there is a gentleman, used to host him here at UBC many times. He's called Mr. Guchina.
Okay.
There is a terminology he uses often, and I love it. Leaders must always keep their heads in the cooler. When people throw mud onto you, you don't do that again. I mean, cool down, think about the act and who is doing this, be better. So leaders at all levels, more so into political contestations, must lead their supporters not to commit crimes. Don't lead them into sin. No. If I am so attached to you as my candidate, the best thing I can do to you is, one, to recruit another through convictions to go and cast my vote and to keep it.
So I'll ask you this so that you can clarify for the Ugandans out there. Just to be clear, are there any other people that were injured, let it be police or Ugandan citizens or any other person really in this incident?
Yes, a few were, but minor injuries. In such circumstances, yes, people get injured. But my friend Tamare Mirundi would always tell you that when a lion dies, can you really announce a rabbit having died? Sometimes when the heavyweights get into the fray, the narrative goes with them, and we tend to forget guns. But no death was registered apart from that of the late Yasin. No major injuries were registered, small injuries. And for us servicemen, again, even when you get injured, you still carry on the work. Sometimes you don't even go to the police to record this. You feel there is that inbuilt feeling that these are occupational hazards, and you move on. And we grow as human beings who learn to respect and to engage. But what I would want, again, Ugandans to really think about deeply, what are the lessons that we pick in all this? Democracy, and more so multi-party democracy, means that we are going to disagree. Look, the people of Arua municipality are the same. And it's okay for them to vote for different candidates of their choice. Those of us who go there to rally them must never at any one point drive them into separating them, into making them look at their neighbors as enemies. We must never do that. When we do, we have failed as leaders. And our role as referees now becomes a little more harder when there are various voices from leaders. Because elected leaders are very, very important people. So I would caution them, do not, when we talk about these things, especially if we had 3 politicians here, we would be saying this, and off-air, politicians say different things, and you know it, you host them.
Yeah.
Off-air, they will tell you something funny. So I want Ugandans to look ahead of what we want, and we must grow. Look at other countries. It can be hot, but they don't go on to destroy their relationships, their property, because that now comes to you as an individual. When you commit a crime, criminal responsibility is not collective. It's you who did it, and somebody who helped you, whom we call an accomplice. And a friend of mine who's a lawyer told me that when you help a criminal in the commission of a crime, during that commission of a crime, you are an accomplice. When you help him after, you are his lawyer. So to urge that, no, he didn't do it.
Yeah.
But those are the issues we have to go through as a country. I think we have to grow.
It is quite absurd, but for me, lastly, I think we're running out of our time, and we just want the Afandi Kyima here to give assurance to the country and our viewers that for every person who was arrested, mostly with due respect to the members of parliament, that they are okay, because a couple of trending pictures on social media have been suggesting that some of them are terribly ill. We saw a couple of unsightly photos of the Honorable Zake being battered and swollen. We have heard that Bobie Wine was flown to hospital, and that was said, I think, by the third deputy prime minister, the Honorable Moses Ali, yesterday in his statement. So we would want to hear, as the institute that arrested these people would want you to give assurance to Ugandans, to the wives, the friends, the children, the relatives of these people on national TV that they are okay, and today we shall have them in shape in court.
Okay, meaning that they're not sick. Some of them could be sick.
You define that, but
as of yesterday, they were all fine. I've not checked on them this morning, but I know they are fine. They'll have a story to tell, and I know many people who tell funny stories. If for any reason, really, somebody's rights were abused, then we shall look at that and correct it. And we correct it as the law so guides, and to get over it. Me, I want Ugandans. Well, it's important to really love our leaders, rally behind them, but don't surrender your life for them. Nobody is worth losing their lives because of someone else. Nobody. Only Jesus did for us. I shouldn't lose my life for you because I love you alone. No politician come and talk endlessly and they forget about it.
But do we see that probably politicians are the ones inciting this sort of thing?
I would want to think
you know what? They say that it's us. I don't enjoy blame games. Let's all look deep into our hearts and the actions, and let Ugandans make a choice on who to believe and what to do, because it starts and ends with me, the individual. And let me tell you, the safety, the security of this country depends and starts with me and you. It doesn't matter whether I'm on uniform or not. When things are bad, I suffer the same. And we are here to give a service. We want to give a service to Ugandans who are firm, who are ready to even question each of what we do or we don't do right. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Police spokesperson, that is Emilian Kyima, very detailed there, and saying a number of things have happened, but we have a way of dealing with issues. Many a times we tend to speak of how forceful, of how much force police is using to handle situations, but he has been very clear on that and where that does come in. Well, good morning. Agenda has come to an end, but you're still with us. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you very much.